Yo, 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 yo. It's going down, y'all. It is going down. United States airstrike on Venezuela. Captured the president, whoever he is over there, and his wife. How everybody, what everybody's, say everybody thoughts on that? Now they saying it's over drugs, man. The United States be tripping me out. They say it's over drugs, y'all. Donald Trump is sick and tired of Venezuela sending drugs to the United States. Who believes that? Who believes that, man? So we had a drug problem over this motherfucker since the beginning of time. Now in 2026, 2025, 2026, it's a problem. I don't know, man. They trying to steal some oil or something. Yeah, man. But I told y'all, 2027, World War III. Forget I told y'all that. Forget I told y'all that, man. They're already preparing for it. So this year gonna be a wild year. What's up, Major Baby? Happy New Year. This year is gonna be a wild one. You heard me. Look like we're right on pace to what I was telling y'all, 2027. So we have a whole year of back and forth, you know, air strikes, then it's going to probably get calm, then it's going to start up again. You know, China might get involved in 2027. I told y'all last year that America is already getting up for World War III. So let's find out about this air strike. You enjoy the what you doing Christmas, man? You enjoy the holidays? Let me show y'all something. Massive airstrikes. Look at this shit, y'all.
Acaban de explotar el 4F.
Ya, vaya mismo.
They definitely bombing shit again.
Sí, sí.
You know what's crazy, right? Remember during his first election, he was calling Kim Jong-un Rocket Man. I think Trump deserved that title, man. I think Trump deserves the title of Rocket Man because he been shooting them motherfuckers wherever he want to ever since he got back in office. Yeah, but this gonna turn bad though eventually.
¡Mamá huevo! ¡Qué locura! ¡Mamá huevo! ¡Uf! ¡Ay, mamá huevo! ¡Verga! Se metieron los de la USA, papi. Los que tienen 14 años son más grandes que ellos. Vaya, mamá. Vamos bien, Michi. Vamos bien.
Yeah, I told y'all World War III is in 2027, yo. Forget I told y'all, yo, people, that's my, you know what I mean? That's what word is in the military, man. China's gonna take over Ukraine, and that's gonna jumpstart World War III. That's you know, that's what they said, you know, 2027. I think China and Venezuela is allies. Of course it's gonna get bad. United States in a war with China, man. Tired of China taking over, they're getting too big. Only way to stop them is to go to war with them. It's the only way to stop them. It's fucked up. A lot of people gonna die about it. No, A lot of people gonna die about it, but that's the game you sign up for when you join the military. Now he's saying he did this over drugs, y'all.
Hey.
That's what he said.
Nos llama. Que el grito de la patria libre retumbe en cada rincón. La victoria es nuestra, porque la razón y la dignidad nos acompañan. Nosotros venceremos. ¡Que viva la patria!
Now they say he called for war, but I don't know what the fuck he said. Does anybody know what he said? Can we verify his claims of war? You know that, what the fuck he speaking Spanish? Hold up. Historia. This is Fox News right here. This happened last night. This happened last night.
How you feel?
Hold on, let's go to the news. Yeah, this happened last night, man. See what the news is saying. Yeah, this happened overnight.
This is CBS News special report. I'm Carissa Lawson in New York. The United States just attacked Venezuela's capital, hitting military facilities in the country. President Trump ordered this operation. There were multiple explosions in Caracas starting at around 2 a.m. local time. You can see the video here coming in. It shows low-flying aircraft in the city. This is the first U.S. military attack within the country. President Trump is targeting the South American nation over its authoritarian leader, Nicolas Maduro, and his alleged ties to drug cartels. It follows months of military buildup in the region. The strikes come just hours after Maduro had said he was open to negotiations with the U.S. Let's go right to CBS News correspondent Natalie Brand. She's traveling with the president in West Palm Beach, Florida. And Natalie, what are we hearing from the Trump administration right now?
Well, as of this hour, sources are telling CBS News that Trump administration officials are aware of these reports of explosions and aircraft. No immediate response from the White House, but we've also learned per U.S. officials that President Trump ordered strikes on sites inside Venezuela, including military facilities. This, of course, comes as the administration has escalated its campaign against the regime of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, which the U.S. administration views as illegitimate. So right now, as we've seen on some initial video coming in, which we are still working to gather and confirm, several explosions were heard around 2 a.m. local time Saturday overnight in Venezuela's capital city, Caracas. People seen kind of rushing to the streets. And again, this is something that the president himself had said was a possibility out loud, talking about potential land strikes. CBS News has also learned from sources that the president gave the U.S. military the green light to conduct land strikes in Venezuela days before the actual operation, waiting for conditions to be right there. Sources also say that military officials were even going to conduct the mission on Christmas, but U.S. airstrikes in Nigeria, as you may remember, against ISIS targets took precedence that day, according to the sources. So again, we are still working to confirm the latest, but first, as you know, this comes on top of months of a pressure campaign, which started back in September with those initial strikes that we saw on alleged drug boats off the coast of Venezuela. That has expanded now to a massive military buildup around Venezuela, a blockade of sanctioned oil tankers, a pressure campaign that's both military and also economic pressure.
As you said, this has been a slow and steady escalation. What is the president's goal in Venezuela at this time?
You know, he's been careful not to completely disclose that when asked directly by reporters. He won't talk about regime change, even though that's what a lot of lawmakers over on Capitol Hill say that they believe all signs point to. But President Trump, in interviews with reporters, including CBS News' own Norah O'Donnell, has said that he believes that Maduro's days as president are numbered. The big question, of course, is what would happen next. And that's where even allies of the president on Capitol Hill, after they received briefings on Venezuela operations, they said that they had more questions for administration officials about the real strategy here and the end game.
Natalie Brand, thank you for those details on what's happening in Venezuela right now. Now, CBS News correspondent Lilia Luciano is talking to sources in both Colombia and Venezuela. And Lilia, what is the reaction in these overnight hours to all of this?
Well, over the last few minutes or maybe an hour since I started seeing these reports, I started reaching out to sources in Venezuela. I heard from folks who confirmed that they heard one person who heard the loud bangs who said that their area, which is near one of these bases that was bombed, could hear the loud bang that the skies were orange and that they lost power quite immediately. There were people, of course, were expecting that something could happen, but they have been waiting for many weeks. So, of course, now when it does happen, they are on high alert. I have also heard I reached out from when I covered the election last week to people who are supportive or allied to the Maduro regime, and they said that they are standing guard, that they're waiting for more information, that they're willing to come out and fight whatever that means to maintain the Venezuelan, they say government, of course, regime. I also reached out to Colombia. The president of Colombia has issued a couple of tweets in that he makes sure to state that Colombia is neither an enemy of Venezuela or of the United States, and is placing Colombia in a way in between both countries and offering the possibility of entering or allowing or facilitating negotiations. And Maduro has now, or the government of Venezuela has also issued a statement in the last several minutes calling this a flagrant violation of the Charter of the United Nations. I am hoping to hear a little bit more about more reactions from Venezuela, but of course this happened at 2 a.m. local time, and people are sharing what they can on social media. It seems like the strikes are primarily airports, military bases, and we're hoping to hear more from our government, and reached out to military sources too for confirmation, but we'll continue making calls.
Sure, and it's probably too early to tell if there's been any casualties in all of this as well. Lilia Luciano, thank you so much for that information. Well, to recap, the U.S. attacked military facilities in Caracas, Venezuela's capital. Multiple explosions were heard around 2 a.m. local time.
Did Donald Trump do a briefing yet? Hold up, let's see something. Because I think they captured the president. They said they captured him and they bringing him up on charges, man. That's the case. He is not getting the fair trial. Yeah, here you go right here.
This is an ABC News special report.
Somebody get him out of there.
Good morning, I'm Allison Cossack, and we're coming on the air this morning to tell you that President Trump has confirmed that strikes on Venezuela have been happening over the past few hours, and according to President Trump, that Nicolas Maduro and his wife have been captured in Venezuela. There have been scenes of multiple explosions and low-flying aircraft. All of that heard beginning around 2 a.m. local time in the capital city of Caracas. And the FAA is now banning U.S. commercial flights in Venezuela airspace over what's being called ongoing military activity. This comes after weeks of the U.S. ramping up pressure on the government of President Nicolas Maduro, including seizing 2 oil tankers and conducting deadly military strikes on alleged drug boat smugglers. This week, the Pentagon released video of 2 vessels being hit, saying they were moving along known narco trafficking routes and engaging in narco trafficking. At least 115 people have been killed in more than 30 strikes since September. The U.S. also deploying a large-scale buildup of military forces and assets in the Caribbean, sending the largest, most advanced air.
Yo, know what's crazy, right? He doing all this bombing, talking about drugs. Yeah, but drug prices ain't go up. I think Trump took his anger out on the wrong people. That's how you know it ain't about drugs. If they really bombed 30 shipments or whatever shipments they just mentioned, drug prices would go up. And they haven't. They still going down. You know what I mean? Right now you can get a motherfucking ounce of coke for $600. I remember ounce of coke was $1,200. You know what I mean? During the pandemic, that shit went up to down there $2,000. So I don't buy this. I don't buy this narrative of this is over drugs, because it's having zero effect on the drug market. Zero.
Aircraft carrier in the world, the USS Gerald Ford, It's now part of the 15,000 U.S. troops that are operating in that region. That's in addition to the joint training exercises in Trinidad and Tobago, just 7 miles away from Venezuela. The U.S. is reportedly installing a radar system on that island. In recent weeks, President Trump declaring that Venezuelan airspace should be considered closed in its entirety. Venezuela authorities denouncing that as a colonialist threat that seeks to affect the sovereignty of its airspace. The FAA warned major airlines about a potentially hazardous situation in the skies over Venezuela, citing worsening security and heightened military activity that could threaten aircraft at all altitudes. That prompted 6 international carriers to suspend flights to the capital city of Caracas. And the U.S. recently added Maduro and his government to the State Department's list of the world's most dangerous terrorist organizations. In a pre-taped interview this week, Maduro accused the U.S. of mounting a months-long pressure campaign to force a regime change and to gain access to vast oil reserves. Maduro has also denied having any ties to the drug trade, accusing the U.S. of using the drug smuggling as a way to oust him from office. Let's go to ABC News correspondent Matt Rivers. He joins us live now on the phone. Matt, what are you hearing? What's the latest?
This stunning message, quite frankly, from President Trump posting on Truth Social, where he says the United States has successfully carried out a large-scale strike against Venezuela and its president, Nicolás Maduro, who has been, along with his wife, captured and flown out of the country. He goes on to say the operation was done in conjunction with U.S. law enforcement. News conference later today at 11 a.m. That is absolutely stunning news and what is a major escalation. You know, in just the last few hours, the torrent of news that has been coming out of this situation has really just been one surprise after the next. You know, a series of very large explosions, not in some random parts of Venezuela, not on port facilities as many had suspected, but right in the heart of Caracas and the states surrounding Caracas, where we know the heart of Venezuela's military apparatus, its state security apparatus is, and where Nicolás Maduro himself has governed from for well over a decade now as the leader of Venezuela. So those explosions, people running in the streets, videos of helicopters in the air, certainly stunning images overnight in and of themselves, which led the Venezuelan government, or what is left of it apparently at this point, to put out a statement saying that it was the U.S. military responsible for this. The president of Colombia nearby had also accused the United States of doing this, but initially we didn't hear from the U.S. government specifically about what was going on until this post from President Trump on Truth Social, not only announcing that the U.S. military was responsible for these military strikes, which was surprising in and of itself, but certainly not something that was unexpected given the massive force buildup that we have seen from the U.S. military over the past several months in this region. Strikes were always a possibility given that force buildup that we've seen. But what is really going to stun the world, I think, is what happened, according to President Trump, that they were able to capture Nicolás Maduro and his wife and fly them out of the country. Remember, the United States has long accused Maduro of being a drug trafficker, of being the head of a group called the Cartel de los Soles, which is a loosely organized...
So this is what Trump was talking about when he said he gonna give drug traffickers the death penalty. So when everybody was up in arms talking about, we thinking it was gonna be black people, I said, man, you crazy. This guy is going to get the death penalty for selling drugs in America.
Group in Venezuela that the United States says is responsible for pushing lots of cocaine into the Caribbean and up to the United States. There was a $50 million reward on his head at this point for information leading to his capture and arrest. And so it does appear the president is leaning into that, talking about the operation being done in conjunction with U.S. law enforcement, perhaps seeking to fend off questions down the road that might come up about the legality of strikes like this. So he's leaning into the law enforcement element of this. But there is no question this is a stunning overnight series of events in the country of Venezuela. Not just these strikes themselves, but also the apparent capture and flying out of the country the head of government of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, and his wife.
With this apparently, at this point, because we are still getting information in, that this was the reason for this operation.
The fuck they take his wife for? They might as well took his kids too. Fuck it, just take the whole family. Why did he take his wife? Man? Was she peddling drugs too? Like, man, I don't know what this is over. I doubt if it's over. I think they're just using drugs, as a catalyst for the bombing. But this ain't about no drugs. This ain't about no drugs. Then you're gonna have a whole sham trial.
Getting Maduro and his wife, capturing them, and then flying them out of the country. Are there still operations going on, these military strikes, or do you know yet if they've subsided?
Well, from what it seems like, and again, in the initial hours after events like this, especially in the overnight hours, especially in parts of Caracas where we know the power is out, what kind of information is getting out there, there is definitely the fog of war that is in play here. And so we're very careful to only report exactly what we know. But if you look at what President Trump is saying here, the United States has successfully carried out, in the past tense, a large-scale strike against Venezuela and its leaders. So if you just use the president's words there, perhaps it's over, but we're not sure yet. We have to be very clear with our audience about what we know and what we don't know, and we're simply not sure. But we also know that it might not have just been Maduro himself targeted. If you were going to take out the majority of the Maduro government, if you were going to reduce the capacity of the Maduro government to actually govern, then you would of course need to target not just Maduro himself, but also other members of his government. And so that's what we're going to be waiting to see. What else happened here? We know that there was explosions across the area in places where we know there are military bases, where we know that the state security apparatus operates from. And so what did those strikes entail? What were the intent of those strikes, and what were the outcome of those strikes? We know, obviously, according to the president, that President Maduro has been captured and taken out of the country, but I'm also curious to know what the outcome of the other strikes were, and quite frankly, who is in charge of the government of Venezuela at the moment? That is an outstanding question that we do not, at least right now, have an answer to. And remember, this is a country, millions and millions of people. The Caracas metropolitan area in and of itself, well over 3 million, 4 million, 5 million people who at the moment are learning right now at the same time as the rest of us that they no longer have a head of state.
And with Maduro out, who do you think is sort of at the realm of taking over at this point? I mean, Maduro's leadership is not recognized as legitimate by many countries, but does that mean another person from Maduro's government is stepping in, or are we seeing some other candidates step forward?
It's a good question. I mean, I don't think we have the answer to that yet. I think it's too early to tell. I mean, someone put out a statement within the Venezuelan government, and it clearly wasn't President Maduro, but we did get a message that was sent out to the media by remaining members, apparently, of the Maduro government. One man does not make a government. That's something that could happen. Could you see a democratic transition? Opposition? Sure, in theory, but you also have vast security state in Venezuela, from the military on down to state-level security, on down to community-level security, that were collecting government paychecks from the Maduro government. So do they recognize a new democratic transition? These are all the kinds of questions that we simply do not have the answers to yet, given that this is just the right questions to be asking, but there's certainly no way we're going to have these answers as we continue to just sift through this information about what happened here in what has just been a stunning, just a few hours of news as this has come in, has completely upended the entire geopolitical landscape in one of the most important countries in South America.
All right, Matt Rivers, thanks so much for that great reporting and all of that analysis. Let's go to senior White House correspondent Salita Wang, who is joining us from West Palm Beach. Are you learning anything more from the White House?
Well, look, we were waiting for an official statement from a U.S. official, from the Pentagon, from the White House, but what is so stunning here is that we got the official confirmation from the president, and what he said in his post online is really stunning. I'm just going to read it to you. It says, quote, "The United States of America has successfully carried out a large-scale strike against Venezuela and its leader, President Nicolas Maduro, who has been, along with his wife, captured and flown out of the country. This operation was done in conjunction with U.S. law enforcement. Details to follow." The president goes on to say that there will be a news conference today at 11 a.m. at Mar-a-Lago here in West Palm Beach. We are still waiting for more information. We don't know where President Nicolas Maduro, along with his wife, have been taken to. There will certainly be questions asked at that 11 a.m. press conference. But look, this comes as we have seen this steady ramp up of U.S. pressure on Venezuela from an economic perspective, diplomatically, militarily, the U.S. amassing the largest military presence in the Caribbean in decades, including deploying the world's largest aircraft carrier, the USS Gerald Ford. It was known that the whole purpose of this big show of military force was directed at President Nicolas Maduro. But lawmakers from both sides unclear what the end game from the president was, but certainly this announcement from the president is striking and stunning and surprising to many. But the president has for weeks, though, been warning that land strikes were coming very soon. The president telling me not long ago that they know every house, every route, and where the drugs are manufactured, but the expectation there was that these strikes were going to be singularly focused on where these drugs are manufactured, not on leadership. Now, the president said just days ago, he revealed that the U.S. struck a dock in Venezuela that he claimed the cartels were using to transport drugs overseas. That was the beginning of this new phase of this U.S. operation, because that marks the first time we know it that the U.S. carried out a strike inside Venezuela. Prior to this, Allison, we had seen a lot of the U.S. pressure on Venezuela coming into seas. The U.S. has launched at least 30 deadly strikes against alleged drug boats in the Caribbean and the Pacific Ocean. The U.S. Coast Guard has also pursued and seized oil tankers linked to Venezuela. That is really an effort to squeeze Venezuela economically, as oil is really the lifeblood of the Maduro regime.
Okay, Selena Wang, stand by. I'm going to go back to ABC's Matt Rivers with news about a statement from Venezuela's defense minister. Matt.
Yeah, so we're just, again, this is all just coming in, so bear with us as we sift through the details here, Allison. But Defense Minister Vladimir Padrino Lopez, who is speaking from an unknown place, has apparently come out talking about this criminal, what he called a criminal military aggression from the United States. He confirms once again that there were multiple areas within Caracas and the states surrounding Caracas that were targeted, including, crucially, Fort Tiuna. Fort Tiuna is the main military complex there, right in Caracas, and striking that has certainly would certainly be considered a major escalation. And now, given what the president said, we know that that has taken place. According to the defense minister, helicopters were used in combat. There was helicopter gunships used on the part of the United States. And so he is speaking and has said that the government continues. He called the United States act criminal. He's asking for people in Venezuela to remain calm and to not panic. They want to avoid chaos and anarchy. He has announced a state of emergency across the entire national territory, and he has called up a deployment of all relevant military members there inside the country. So this is the first time we're really hearing a senior member of the Maduro government come out and talk like this, of our very senior person, given that is the defense minister. But crucially, it's not Maduro himself. Given what the president has said, that's not a surprise. But this is the first time that we're hearing specifically from a senior member here.
Did the defense minister mention, have any information about how many injured, how many dead?
He did say, it's a good question. He said that because these attacks happened in an urban complex, which we know is true because we know that some of the main military bases in Caracas are in populated areas, even where there are hotels nearby. He says that they are currently checking on the numbers of injured or killed, but no word yet specifically as to what those numbers are.
Okay, ABC's Matt Rivers, thanks so much for that information. I want to go to Stephen Ganyard. He's an ABC News contributor. I want to get your reaction now that we've heard since the last time we spoke. Now that we have confirmation about this move from the White House to get Maduro and his wife, capture them, and out of the country. What is your reaction?
It's extraordinary. When we talked a few minutes ago, that we saw that there were videos from Caracas showing multiple helicopters, which presumably were U.S. Special Operations helicopters, MH-47 Chinooks. There appeared to be a attack by helicopters on some part of Caracas, showing rockets going into an area that appeared to be coming from helicopters. So this would seem to be a big operation that went after the main elements of the Maduro regime and the Venezuelan military. So we know that the strikes were against numerous military targets, to include communication sites up in the hills above Caracas. But most interestingly, all of that probably was a diversion, or at least something to distract the Venezuelan military while the special operations folks were in snatching Maduro and his wife.
All right, Stephen Gagnon, thanks so much for that. I want to go to Chief Global Affairs Correspondent Martha Raddatz. Martha, what is your reaction?
I think this was something that people were standing by for, but certainly not to this scale. We had 15,000 U.S. forces in the region. We have seen these strikes again and again on suspected drug boats, been asked about regime change. Certainly, Donald Trump had made threats.
Yeah, but the coke prices is still cheap. If they produce coke price, if they produce coke, and we bomb 30 shipments, you would think coke prices would go up, and it hasn't. Coke prices is getting cheaper. Actually, coke prices is cheaper than it's ever been, to my knowledge. I don't know about the 80s, but from the 90s all the way on up, this is the cheapest that coke prices has ever been. Ever. Like, it's so cheap you can't even make money off this shit no more. So I don't believe that's what this is over. I think they just using that to justify these airstrikes. That's what I believe. Gee, man. That's not coke. That's fentanyl. Well, I don't know. The people selling it as coke.
Maduro, but I don't think anyone was expecting something this large scale, and to capture the president and his wife in this sort of operation. President Trump has given hints about the CIA operations earlier this week, but nothing to this scale, and this is something we just have to watch. We certainly have the assets in the region to basically do anything we want at this point, and standing by for any reaction.
Maduro isn't recognized as a legitimate leader for many countries, from many countries. I'm curious what your thoughts are on how this is being received, this capture and takeout of Maduro and his wife, taking them out of the country. How is this being received on the world stage?
Well, on the world stage, certainly, it's shocking in many ways, whether he's seen as the legitimate leader or not. It's shocking. I'm certain some countries will be happy about this. Obviously, President Trump is happy about this after all these warnings. But on the world stage, to have the United States of America go in and grab, as President Trump has said, capture the Venezuelan president and his wife is startling around the world.
Talk to me more about the significance of that.
I think the significance of that is obvious. You have the United States involving itself in military operation that we chose to do, that President Trump chose to do without provocation beyond these drug boats, and certainly Congress will have something to say about this as well.
What are your thoughts about economically how this could impact oil prices and oil supply around the world?
around the world. I mean, this is a major route here. We know that if there's any kind of blockade, and I know Steve Gannard has been talking about this a lot of late, if there's any kind of blockade, what happens now? Who else gets involved? I mean, that is a key thing to watch here, what the reaction is from our adversaries, certainly, from Russia, from Iran, from others who go in and out of there with oil. We've already got that tanker that the United States was pursuing, and that is something that the world will have to brace itself for as well.
All right, ABC's Martha Raddatz, thanks so much. Again, President Trump confirming this moments ago that the U.S. launched large-scale strikes against Venezuela and that President Maduro and his wife have been captured and they've been flown out of the country. We're going to go ahead and return you to your regular programming. Actually, before we do that, let's get back to Selena Wang from West Palm Beach with more information, I think, about from the White House.
We're actually learning a little bit more. The president is giving a brief interview to the New York Times where he celebrated the success of the mission to capture Maduro, saying, quote, a lot of good planning and a lot of great troops and people. He went on to say it was a brilliant operation, actually. And when the president was asked if he sought congressional authority or what is next for Venezuela, the president said he would address those matters during his news conference at Mar-a-Lago this morning. The president earlier posting that news conference is going to be at 11 a.m. So, Allison, still key outstanding questions about all of this. For one, where are they taking Maduro and his wife? What will the legal charges be? Was Congress notified? Was the CIA involved in this? Who led this operation? And do U.S. forces remain on the ground? Again, this comes as we have seen repeated threats over the last several weeks and months and steady ramp up of U.S. pressure against Venezuela, economically, diplomatically, militarily. The U.S. had positioned the largest military presence in the Caribbean in decades, including the world's largest aircraft carrier. This massive show of force that was really directed at President Nicolas Maduro. But so much of that pressure was really primarily focused at sea, the U.S. striking these alleged drug boats. So the president had been threatening these land strikes. Certainly a surprise to many that it has gone to this extent. The U.S. also had been pursuing seizing oil tankers linked to Venezuela. And I just want to point out one quote from the White House Chief of Staff that was given in a series of interviews to Vanity Fair that was recently published. She had suggested that this entire campaign may actually be about regime change, saying Trump, quote, wants to keep on blowing boats up until Maduro cries uncle.
With the president declaring this a successful mission, do you know, and I know you're not on the ground in Venezuela, but are there still strikes happening over Venezuela?
That is a question. I mean, if we look and dissect the president's post, he is speaking in the past tense, saying has successfully carried out a...
Let me show y'all some of these strikes. So he doing a news conference at 11 a.m. So in another 2 hours. Let's see what this fuckboy got to say. Oh no, we seen this already.
Right. That's a brilliant. The woke right, because these people, they're not any different from the woke left. I mean, they're insane. They're the reason. But they're actually meeting on some of the things. And what we have to do is we have to secure that part of the base of our support in the United States. That is being challenged systematically. A lot of this is done with money. Money of NGOs, vast. Money of governments, vaster. Okay? We have to fight back. How do we fight back? Our influencers. I think you should also talk to them if you have a chance. To that community. They're very important. And secondly, we're going to have to use the tools of battle. The web.
Right, West Baltimore.
Christian influencers. Okay.
Right, exactly, West Baltimore. That's how you know it's some bullshit. That's how you know it's some bullshit. Coke prices then went down tremendously, like all the way down, like to the floor. That's how you know it's some bullshit.
People, America just.
Hold on. show y'all the airstrikes again for people that didn't see it.
Acaban de explotar el 4F.
Mira, mira. Ahí está también. Ahorita a las 2:05 de la madrugada voy yo a la puerta. Ahí, grabé.
Me está jodiendo.
Marico, no puedo creer esta mierda.
Marico, me está jodiendo.
Llama ya mismo.
Algo no puede ser.
No había al lado fuerte ni una, güey.
¿Están grabando?
Sí, sí.
Marico, me
Mamá huevo, qué locura.
Mamá, güey, ¿cómo estoy apuntando?
Mamá huevo. Uf. Ay, mamá huevo. Verga, se metieron los de la USA, papi. Los que tienen 14 años son más grandes que ellos. ¡Ah!
Bueno, mamá. Vamos bien, Michi. Vamos bien.
We came through that motherfucker in the middle, in the dead of the night. Shit like, yeah, I don't know what's gonna come out of this, but I told y'all they've been gearing up for a war in 2027. Look forward to it. China supposed to be involved. You know, Venezuela does have allies. I'm sure they're not gonna be pleased with this. But like I said, it's a press conference, 11 p.m., 2 hours from now. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to go live and watch it, but we're definitely gonna talk about it. So I appreciate everybody that tapped in. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you share the live. Let me know what y'all thoughts is about this in the comments. It ain't about coke. I mean, I think we can rule that out. And like G-Man said, for the people that don't know, you know, you can sell that narrative for the people that don't know. But I know coke prices is cheap. And it's been cheap for a long. It's so cheap that it's scary. Like, how the fuck did it drop so much? Like, it's crazy. Can't even make money out of this shit no more. But let me know how you feel about it in the comments. Another day, keep you new in the month.